Now, getting back to these supposedly hacked and altered, leaked memos of George Soros, now Breitbart is reporting that one of these leaked memos reveals the Soros plan for federally controlled police. So this was one of the leaked documents from George Soros' Open Society Foundations, exposing the billionaire's level of involvement in attempting to build what his organization describes as a national movement to reform local police forces across the U.S. The U.S. contingent of Open Society held a planning meeting titled Police Reform: How to Take Advantage of the Crisis of the Moment and Drive Long-Term Institutional Change in Police Community Practice. So this extensive memo documents that Soros finance groups and personalities are what influenced President Obama's task force on 21st century policing, which was released last May. And so it just goes on and on. I mean, this Breitbart article really gets in depth of just how the Open Society Foundation has its hands in everything, how they are funding hundreds of thousands of dollars to movements like Black Lives Matter. The Open Society has also called for a discussion on whether it would be appropriate for the Soros Group to try to shape the Black Lives Matter movement in the future. You know, this is after they've already given them hundreds of thousands of dollars, and this is the same Open Society who is working on shaping the internet and the regulation of the internet, specifically what gets to stay on the internet and what gets to be removed. And of course, the Open Society Foundation will decide who is the bad actor or not, with preferential treatment given to Open Society members.
Originally, President Obama promised that the Fed's handover of the Antitrust-Protected Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers, or ICANN, would not involve the United Nations.
If we fall for, you know, a bunch of okey doke.
Was this yet again a naive move by an incompetent president of the United States, or has this been the plan all along? Time and time again, Congress has failed to pass draconian laws to control the internet. The Communications Decency Act of 1996, the Intellectual Property Enforcement Act of 2007, the Cybersecurity Act, the Protect IP Act of 2011, and SOPA, to name a few, all failed miserably against the ironclad integrity of the First Amendment. The globalists, scurrying to their den of iniquity at Bilderberg, would hear none of it. Their very fortunes and lives depend on it. The public knows too much already. Control of the internet had to be torn from the protection of the U.S. Constitution. Larry Strickland of the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, a Commerce Department agency which has overseen ICANN since 1998, said, "We will not accept a proposal that replaces the NTIA role with a government-led or an intergovernmental solution. Now, after the full weight of Edward Snowden's revelations opened a treasure trove, the United States, in pure Hegelian dialectic fashion, offered to cede control to a multi-stakeholder, i.e. lobbyist-dominated model. That's right, the internet will be in the hands of lobbyists, the very bottom feeders of the whims of globalism. How bad is it? In the intervening years, the United Nations and the European Union had jostled for control of the internet. During a meeting in Dubai, the International Telecommunications Union, the telecom branch of the United Nations, demanded rules governing the internet to be rewritten. Specifically, the international organization proposed deep packet inspection authority that would allow it to monitor and censor content on the internet. The United States walked out of that conference in protest. What appears to be the mundane task of assigning parking spaces for internet businesses will more than likely face in the very near future a level of censorship that will make the free-thinking people of the World Wide Web's heads spin. The Inquisition 2.0. The European Union has proposed the creation of a censorship and mass surveillance framework for EU countries funded by the European Commission. The Clean IT Project webpage explains the plan called for police to patrol Facebook and other social networks in search of extremist material and propaganda, in addition to allowing users to flag terrorist content and turn others into the police. In addition to censorship, the ICANN transfer will allow for a globalist taxation scheme. Former Bush administration State Department senior advisor Christian Witten told the Daily Caller, if the UN gains control of what amounts to the directory and traffic signals of the internet, it can impose whatever taxes it likes. It likely would start with a tax on registering domains and expand from there.
Transition that stewardship to the global community.
Fadi Chahadi has been the CEO at ICANN since 2012. After having negotiated the full-scale globalization of the internet, Chahadi will be aptly rewarded by the New World Order, acting as a senior advisor at Abry Partners, a private equity firm that controls an already monopolized media. Also as a co-chair of the newly formed World Internet Conference in Wuzhen, China. And last but not least, a senior advisor to Klaus Schwab, founder and chairman of the World Economic Forum. Schwab attended Bilderberg in 2016. An internal proposed strategy from George Soros' Open Society Justice Initiative calls for international regulation of private actors' decisions on, quote, what information is taken off the internet and what may remain. End quote. Those regulations, the document notes, should favor, quote, those most supportive of open society, end quote. Open Society being George Soros' organization. Soros and company, rather than striking directly at free speech progenitors like Infowars.com, are 1 month away from recklessly pulling the rug out from under everything. Now that ICANN has relinquished control of the medium, globalist institutions can move forward with plans to scrub the internet of all content unacceptable to the global elite and their minions at the United Nations. John Bowne for Infowars.com.